you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I appreciate you coming in to see Amy's scores with me.
Yes, of course. I'm excited to see how she did.
So she took the Comprehensive Achievement Test in October of this month. And so these are the results, and I'm just going to go over with you what they are, what they mean, and how she did.
Perfect. That sounds good.
So Amy took the Comprehensive Test of Achievement, and that just basically measures her skills and the information that she's learned up to this point in her classes, and determines how she's doing and how she needs to get better, or what she needs to get better on. The top section is the norm reference, and so this measures how she did in comparison to other students across the nation who've taken the test that are the same age and same grade level as her. Okay, the bottom section is the criterion reference, and so that's broken down into 5 sections, and it just goes into more detail on how she did, what exactly she got better or worse at. So in the second set of scores is the criterion reference scores, and so that is just the same information, but it's broken down more. So if you look at analysis, the word analysis part, analysis content, sorry, it's broken down into 5 different sections, so it just goes into further detail on how she did. Do you have any questions so far?
Yeah. How many people are in the norm group, and are they the same age and grade level as Amy?
Yes. So for this particular norm group, there's approximately 2,500 students who took it, and they were all about Amy's same age, like 8 to 9 is the grade for the age for a normal 3rd grader.
Okay. And then also I noticed down here it says basic battery and complete battery. I was a little confused about that. Can you explain that to me?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. That is really confusing. So the basic battery is going to be how she scored in each individual area, like math, science, social studies, and reading. And the battery is going to be the whole, how she scored on the whole test in completion.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for explaining that. What does it mean by subtests? I see that there.
So subtests are just going to be the different categories that the test is broken up into. So the whole test is the achievement test, but within it you have vocabulary, reading comprehension, math, science, and so that's what the little subtests are, and they just parts of the whole test.
Okay, that makes sense.
So since we're talking about the norms, I was going to go into a little more detail so you can understand a little more. And so this part where it says the number of items is going to tell you the whole, like the complete number of questions in that subtest. And so if you look at the math right here, it's going to say math concepts 35, problem solving 44, and procedure 28. And if you add all those questions up, it totals the 107, which is the number of items in the test.
That makes sense.
The column to the right of the number of items is the raw score, and that just shows, it's right here, it shows how she did on her on that subtest. And so it just shows like the complete score, everything she got right. And then right after that is going to be the national percentiles. So that just means when they got the norm group, their test results, they broke it down into different percentiles. And so that is just going to measure how they did across the board in reference to the norm students that did. And if you look at this bell curve, it'll show you the lower scoring, and then the average score, and then the higher scores. And so Amy pretty much fell in the average. So for vocabulary, Amy scored in the 49, and so that just means she scored better than 49% of the norm students. And so she's in the 49th percentile. And so for math, if you look there, she's got the 52, and that is about right here, still in the orange, still doing good, and it just means she scored better than 52%. Better than 52% of the norm students, and so still in the average percentile. So since we're still in here and we're talking about percentiles, let's move to this very long column, right here. And so what that is it's the standard error of measurement. Yeah. Okay. So this is standard error of measurement. And so what that means is, it's just the test is admitting that, there might be issues with the wording. It might be worded differently. They might be having a bad day, or there might be misprints, anything that could make them test higher or lower. And so this is just going to give you an understanding of if they were to take the test tomorrow or the next week, they would score inside that band. And so if we look at her science, you can follow it to here, and she scored an 85 percentile. And so it's saying that if she were to take it again, she would fall anywhere between 85 and 90, depending on whatever issues or how she's feeling that day, if she's stressed. Does that make sense? It was a lot of information.
Yeah, and I think you explained pretty much everything for the norm reference group, but I think you missed this column. What is a scaled score?
So the scale score is when they convert this raw score that you see there onto a new scale that fits their test and then the way their student performs. And so each test is probably going to be different. But if you see back to this, she scored in science she scored a 567, which is right here, which is great. She's almost above average and almost out of the orange. And so this is just the scale score that they have the test, and then the average is scaled to their scores. And so she did really well in science. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think you've pretty much covered everything up here. What was this area again?
So that one is going to be more about the individual subtest itself, and it's going to have more in-depth information about how they did, like low, medium, and high, how they scored. And it's just going to show you more, give us more information on how she did as an individual as opposed to against the norm students.
Okay, yeah, all of that makes sense. And I'm pretty familiar with what vocabulary is, but what does it mean when it says structural analysis and phonetic analysis? I'm a little confused to what those terms mean.
Okay, so in phonetic analysis is using the relationships between spelling and pronunciation to figure out how to pronounce and say a word, mostly unfamiliar words. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it does. You can go ahead and continue.
So moving on, the raw score here, right there, is the number of questions that the student got right. Amy got right. And so if you look at literal comprehension, you see she scored a 17. So she got 17 questions right. And if you go to the next one, it'll show you out of the possible points. And she scored 17 out of 20, which means she only missed 3. So she did very well. And then these columns that say high, low, medium, and high will show you she scored medium. So not low, but not all the way high like she did on structural analysis. If you look at that, she got 10 questions right out of the possible 10 questions. So she scored very highly. And that's just kind of shows you a little more in depth of what she scored and why she scored it. Okay, so let's look at a few more scores of Amy's. So if you look at capitalization, which is going to be down here, she scored 11 out of 12. So 11 questions right out of the possible 12, which she scored a high on because she did very well. And then right underneath it is punctuation, and she scored a 10 out of 11 on it, which again, only missing 1. And so she scored very highly. And if we look at her writer's notebook, we can see that she does capitalize all the letters she needs to, names, beginnings of sentences, and then for punctuation, she uses lots of commas, periods, where they're supposed to be, and then again capitalizes right after that. So she does very well, and this is very accurate according to her writing journal. But if we look at the the measurement. So she scored a 5 out of 8 on measurement. So she got 5 questions right out of the possible 8. And there it shows her scoring low. And if you look at her math scores that we've done on measurement, it doesn't quite match, because we know she does pretty well in measurement. I'd say at least medium. She understands how to measure, what she needs to do, and so it might have just been because there were a limited amount of questions, or she didn't understand the pictures or something. And so I wouldn't agree so much with the measurement as I would with the capitalization and punctuation. But if you look at the life sciences, that one she did very, very well on. She got, where is it? Thank you. She got a 7 out of 7, again, scoring high. And if you want to look through her science journal, every time we do a life sciences activity or lesson, she does super well on it. She gets hundreds, 90s, and really understands that material. So again, I would definitely agree with that one. But for math, if you wanted to have her take home some of the board games we use in class, just to supplement what she's learning and to make sure next time she does better, she can check those out, play with them, or I can give you some websites of the games that we use in class on the iPads for stations, and that might really help her to get more used to measuring. So do you have any other questions or concerns about her scores?
No, I think that pretty much covers it. Do you mind if I take home a copy of those
Yes.
scores?
This is all her scores for you. And if you have any questions, concerns, you can look over it later. Give me a call or email me. We can set up another conference. Anything you need?
No, yeah, that sounds great. Thank you so much for meeting with me.
I really enjoy having Amy in my classroom. She's so wonderful, and I think she's done really, really well.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, it's good seeing you again. Thank you. Have a good day.